Hello, boys and girls. Last Sunday was our first time taking turns to come to church. And I must tell you this, I have been so encouraged by all of your participation. Now, this week, some more changes are taking place. Our government has set a rule to temporarily stop all church services until the 30th of April. Now, this means that all of you will have to do e-learning for children's church starting from this Sunday. So I hope that you will do your best with this e-learning and stay connected with us by joining us online with the different activities that we have planned out for you, just like what your friends did. So every week, we will be uploading a new video and different learning activities for you to do. For this Sunday, we also have an online quiz for you. So after you finish watching this video, remember, click on the links below in the description box to access the online quiz and also to print out the activity sheet that you can do to continue on with your Bible study. Now let me tell you something. For those who did very well in the online quiz, we have a surprise waiting for you. So let us get on with our e-learning this Sunday. So last week, we actually talked about Matthew chapter 16, and this week, we're going to look at Matthew chapter 17. I had a special guest that joined us last Sunday, but today, we are going to look for our special guest. So follow me.
Hello! Hi, I'm Tete Lala. You can come in.
Alright, and now we're in Tete Lala's home. Thank you for joining us! Yay! Okay, so this is a very surprise visit. Well, Tete Lala knows that we are coming, but she doesn't know what to expect. How do you feel right now?
Nervous.
She feels very nervous. Okay, so boys and girls, here is the mystery. The mystery is that we're going to take a look at Matthew chapter 17, 1 to 13. And then we're going to read the passage in a musical style.
Okay.
Okay, because Tete Lala is a worship leader in children's church, so she can sing very well. Cue singing. Love. Exactly. So we're going to get her to sing a children's church praise or worship song according to some of the words in the verses that I'm going to read. Does it sound a bit like challenging?
Yeah, it does.
Do you think that Tete Lala can do this? Yes, I heard a lot of yes over there. Okay, boys and girls, join in as well. If you can think of any song, just join in and then sing together with Tete Lala, okay? Okay, I'm going to read Matthew chapter 17, verses 1 to 13. And it's about the transfiguration of Jesus. It's a very big word, but we're going to talk about that later. Verse 1. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. Then he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light.
Light?
Light. The word is light.
Let your light shine. Whoa, let your light shine. Whoa, let your light shine and let Jesus shine through you.
Good job! Oh, see? Not bad, not bad.
Okay.
Very good, very good. I think Zella is going to do a good job. Verse 3. Just then, there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. This one should be quite easy.
Jesus, you're my firm foundation. I know I can stand secure.
Yay! Wow, good job, good job. That was a sneak attack over there, but you did a good job. Okay, verse 4. Peter said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. Now I'm going to pause here just to talk about this. In other parallel passages in Mark and Luke, we learn that Peter actually said this because he really didn't know what to do. He was so surprised that he said the first thing in his mind. He was like, maybe we should build a tent. We can stay here for the night.
But it didn't make sense, right?
Yeah, it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense because Moses and Elijah was not there physically.
Yeah, they were there in spirit.
Yeah. So they didn't need a shelter.
Yeah, precisely.
That was like really strange. So verse 5, while he was speaking, which is Peter, a bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." Who do you think this voice is?
The voice of God.
Yes, and God is saying something very similar to what he said during Jesus' baptism as well. He also said that this is my son, I'm pleased with him. And so this is the second time that God actually testified that Jesus is his son. Verse 6, when the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground, terrified. 7, but Jesus came and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Don't be afraid."
Afraid?
Afraid.
Afraid?
Is she scared now?
But I am not afraid. No, 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 I am not dismayed.
Oh! I thought that I would get you there. I really, really thought that I would get you there.
Gotcha.
That was really good. That was really good. It's gonna get more difficult, by the way. Just to give you a heads up.
Bring it on. The kids can do it, so can I.
Alright. I love that confidence. Okay. And so verse 8, when they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. So Moses and Elijah, they just disappeared. Everything disappeared. And verse 9, as they were coming down the mountain, Jesus instructed them, "Don't tell anyone what you have seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead."
Dead?
I told you it's going to get difficult. Dead.
What song has the word dead?
I don't know.
I know. It goes like this. Through you the blind will see. Through you the mute will sing. Through you the dead will rise. Through you our hearts will praise.
Wow! I totally didn't know that song. I mean, I didn't know the answer.
I'm free.
Alright, you are free indeed. And so Jesus told them this instruction: don't tell anyone until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead. And then verse 10, the disciples asked him, "Why then do the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first?" They are referring to the Old Testament prophecies. And verse 11, Jesus replied them, "To be sure, Elijah comes and will restore all things." Verse 12, "But I tell you, Elijah has already come," which means that the prophecy of the Old Testament was already fulfilled at that time. And they did not recognize him. And he's saying the teachers of the law, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, they did not recognize the Elijah that came. In the same way, the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands. Hands.
Hands?
Hands.
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 Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Dum, 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 dum.
Oh my God! Good! Wow! That's fantastic. Alright, and the last verse, verse 13. Then the disciples understood that he was talking to them about John the Baptist. Jesus is actually saying that John the Baptist is the fulfillment of the Elijah that is supposed to come before the Messiah appears. And so that is our passage for today. And good job! 10 upon 10. Wow, this didn't faze you at all. You did a wonderful job. How about you, boys and girls? Do you do a good job too? Do you manage to
Think of a song?
Yeah, did you? I hope you did. Alright, so let's talk about the passage. Matthew chapter 17 verses 1 to 13, which is about the transfiguration of Jesus. Now this is a very big word, but let me just try to explain a little bit for the boys and girls. So the transfiguration in its Greek root word, because the New Testament is written in Greek, is metamorphoso, which in English is metamorphosis. Now, metamorphosis is the transformation that a caterpillar goes through to become a butterfly. And so the word transfigured means a transformation or a change. So basically what the disciples saw on the mountain was a physical transformation of Jesus' appearance. He became bright as light. And this passage tells us about how God is showing his glory through Jesus. Yeah. And so when talking about God's glory, which is kind of a difficult subject, because it's so difficult to even understand God's glory. So we're going to kind of talk about this.
About God's glory.
About God's glory, yeah. So maybe I can start first. So one way that I imagine God's glory is through nature. Because there are times where I travel and I go to places with majestic mountains and really nice scenery, and you stand up there and you look at the awesomeness of all the nature around you, and you just realize that wow, I think God as the creator is much more glorious than all that. How about you? Do you have that similar kind of experience?
Yeah, that actually reminds me of a time when I went to China with my friends, and we took 3 days just to walk around a mountain.
Wow.
And we were like 4,000-5,000 meters up, and the mountain was so big that we couldn't get to the top of it. We had to go around it. And in that journey, I remember there were many times where I was walking and I looked back and I was so amazed because the mountain was so big and it made me feel like I was so small in the midst of it all. And to think that this was just a small part of the entire world that God has created just made me realize how big God really was.
Wow. And I think today Lala has pointed out something very important. The glory of God kind of brings a response in us. And the response is that we feel kind of small in comparison to his awesomeness, to his majesty. Now, other than nature, there are also things that happen in our lives that can cause us to have that sense of, oh my gosh, God is so big, God is so amazing, and I just feel so small in comparison. Yeah, like for example, I can think of times when God just transformed situations in my life, provided for me supernaturally. I'm like, oh wow, who could have done that except God? How about you, Tete Lala? How did you experience the glory of God in your daily life?
I think for me, the most recent experience was becoming a mommy. So
That's right.
God gave us a little baby, which started to grow inside my body, and it was really, really strange because the chemicals in my body started to make things happen to me to allow a baby to grow inside of me. Like my legs became bigger and stronger, and God allowed chemicals to enter my body in more quantity so that my joints can become flexible, that the baby can come out when it is ready. And things like my digestion would slow down so that the baby can absorb the nutrients from the food that I eat. So these are things that changed in my body, but it would never have happened to me in my entire life if not because God gave me a baby to take care of.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And it's really amazing to see how God, kind of create a living person here. Hello, living person. We will see you soon. And it is really that kind of awesomeness of God that we see through things like a baby here, or even in nature, or even in situations in our life that remind us that God is very, very real in our lives. And the glory of God is something that we should be paying attention to. Because sometimes I think we can miss, looking out for such evidence of the glory of God. So one thing that I would like to leave you with is, how about you? Have you seen any evidence of God's glory in your life? Have you seen or witnessed or experienced anything that caused you to realize that God is just so big, so majestic, so amazing, and we just feel so small, and that sense of like, oh wow, God is, just so amazing. So if you have any of that experience, start to think about it, because God has a message for you through those experiences. And we'll see you next Sunday.